Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Good.
Oh, good. So, something I thought inside my head because this is how I think, but we're starting off Black History Month accidentally choosing a romantic comedy, which is probably the whitest romantic comedy I've ever seen. I don't know of a single person in the movie that's not white.
Yeah, no, it's very
Oh
it's
no, no,
white.
actually the best friend is a black girl. So
Mhm.
good for us, diversity. But seriously, it's a white ass movie.
It is.
And I
It is a white
and
ass
I
movie.
totally didn't even think about it until literally I'm like, "Hey, let's press the old go live button." And I'm like, "Oh, cuz I was like typing out like, "Come join us for the month of love." And I'm like, "Well, it also is something else." So, hey everybody. Welcome to Threat X3 Productions. It is the month of love. Valentine's Day just around the corner, and we thought a really good theme would be love stories. So we have a couple of movies that we're going to talk about, and we have a couple of games we're going to talk about. So join us every Wednesday when the video comes out, or you can join us live on Tuesdays at around 7
Ish.
ish
Central.
Central Time, whenever we fucking feel like it, okay? So, anyways, so today is movie time. Movie time. And I chose a game and a movie, and Nate chose a game and a movie. So we started with me because I'm the best, obviously. So 10 things I hate about you. Legitimately one of my favorite movies of all time. Just hands down favorite
Hmm.
of all time. Um, and then definitely number one as far as like romantic movies or romantic comedy movies, like definitely number one as far as that goes. I mean, like if we're talking about of all time, not even talking romantic comedies, um if it's not top 10, it's top 15. Like I'd have to sit down and really go over it, but it's way up there as far as favorite movies of all time. So there's my gushing about it. What about you?
Well, so like most people, I am certainly a disappointment. I had never seen this movie until
Ah,
today.
good.
Um, so yeah, that's
So how was
there's
it going back in time to the 90s? Because this is such a fucking 90s
oh my
movie.
god, it is. Oh,
Like the way
the
it
part that
starts,
the
and it's like, got
Yes, but the
sunshine, and
part
then,
that killed me was whenever he was talking about getting kicked out. I'm just going to call him Bernard. When Bernard was talking about getting kicked out of the group, he was like, "They said I bought my isotopes at an outlet mall." I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like it felt so West Coast 90s. It's not even funny.
yeah,
But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
yeah.
I had some interesting thoughts about it, and I feel like they could just be solely from perspective of having seen it for the first time in 2022.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Um, right off the bat, there's one, well, oh, two things. Platform. Why is this on Disney Plus?
That's a good point. That's a good point there, eh?
The second one is I was not expecting that hard R like 15 minutes into the movie. Like just whenever she's talking to Kat when they're going up the stairs and she was like, "Why don't you?" She says, "Retard."
What did she say? You're gonna have to remind me.
It's the it's part when she's getting onto her, I think about not dating, and then she was like, "Why don't you act something blah 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 retard?" Or and she said it, and I was like, "Ooh, that didn't age
Oof.
well.
Oof.
That didn't age well."
Yeah.
But I first off, it was not the movie I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah.
Um,
How so?
I hearing about it for so long, I was expecting it to be a 90s movie akin to A Walk to Remember, just to put it in like that context.
Oh, okay.
Like I was expecting it to be much more of a romance, not something sweetly in the middle between
Yeah.
that and American Pie. Because I feel like that's perfectly where this is nestled. It's like a PG-13 American Pie.
Yeah, good
Because it
point.
is
Yeah.
PG-13, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so much PG-13 that you might have noticed the one part with the principal, how she's like looking after these shit for brains. But if you
Yeah.
watch her mouth, it does not match. I'm pretty sure the original line was watching over these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Right out,
Which
right
really
off the bat.
explains Jordan Gordon-Levitt's like complete surprise, because Shit for Brains is pretty bad, but I'm pretty sure the original was R-rated, and she said
Yeah.
motherfuckers. Like,
Yeah.
I always thought for the longest time. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I always thought for the longest time that it was like a TV thing, like they covered that up for TV or something like that. Because obviously, when you watch it on TV, then it's like they say something else than Shit for Brains, obviously. But still, I
Yeah.
thought that that's like I was like a Mandela effect where I was just remembering
Yeah.
it wrong. But then watching it, you know, unedited for the most part, it's like seeing that part, I'm like, oh no, that's right. And I think there was a YouTube video that explained that it used to be rated R, and so that's why that part is weird like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, makes perfect sense. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. Especially with her character, because this movie does have a lot more. It has more bad teacher vibes,
Yeah,
where it's supposed to be like an R-rated school type movie. But yeah, just a lot of things to unpack from it. First, you mentioned it, baby Joe Gordon-Levitt. I mean,
Right.
I right off the bat, I could see why this was a romance from him, where it's like this hopeless romantic.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see him in that light, because I think the last thing in recent memory that I've seen was The Night Before, because we make that's my new Christmas tradition film is The Night Before. I love it. No, the movie The Night Before with Anthony Mackie, Seth Rogen,
Oh
and Joe
yeah,
Gordon-Levitt.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. But anyway, it was cool to see him in that kid form. And then this also just felt like Freaks and Geeks the movie. Like
Yeah, I
it
could see
felt
that,
like it
yeah.
involved Freaks and Geeks, and that could be solely from Bernard. I'm not really sure, but man, he
Right.
just like his what I really enjoyed about this, and why it felt so much like American Pie, is the landing of the jokes and like the overall physical comedy. The part I think overall that's my favorite physically in the movie is whenever he's talking to Joey, making the initial proposal,
Yep.
and it's just chill as can be while he's getting written on, like, and just not even paying attention to it. And then he walks away and he's like,
I have a dick on my
there's a
face.
dick on my face. There's another. He's like, all right, cool, and then walks off.
Yeah, I
But-
think like as somebody who's seen this like so many times, it is fun to revisit it, and just like all the background jokes, all the jokes that just kind of land, and like they don't make a big fuss about it. It's just like, yeah, here's a little joke in the background, or here's a little joke, and then now it's done. Like I don't know that much negative that I can say about this movie, because I feel like it was put together so the writing is good, the comedy is good. Originally this is it's based on a Shakespeare play, and I think Taming of the Shrew, I believe.
I'll fact check.
Yeah, fact check me. But yeah, I think it's The Taming of the Shrew, because it's, yeah, the whole premise of the older sister needs to date before the younger. I'm pretty sure that's Taming of the Shrew. And so, yeah, the whole thing was that the shrew was the older sister, and she just like, yeah, oh, woe is me, and stuff like that. So this was basically a modern day adaptation of that. And so I love that we got the same premise, obviously, but... And we even got the same cleverness that you would expect from a William Shakespeare type of play. There's a lot of clever writing in it. There's a lot of just, you know, the jokes, the way they land isn't just like, butt stuff. It's like a lot of the comedy can be clever. And of course they have their, silly stuff like the dad like doing the stretch and then it flings off or whatever. And then the guy like throws a bit, thanks, Jerry. Like little things like that. Like that's pretty, I wouldn't call it lowbrow, but I guess maybe obvious. Like there's more
It's like
obvious
slapstick
comedy.
comedy.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, slapstick. But then a lot of the just dialogue in general is very kind of clever, but also they're able to mix Shakespeare and actually make it feel like these people are teens, even though Heath Ledger at the time probably in his 20s, but still they did it in such a way that it was just believable or whatever. I want to see the extended Snyder cut where his friend with like the hair, like there was clearly a friendship there, but he doesn't have a single fucking line in the entire in the entire movie. Oh, and I was this many years old when I found out that the one bar he goes into to see the concert or whatever is a lesbian bar. Like, as a kid, just way over my head. As an adult watching that part again, I'm like, oh, there's nothing but women there, and they're all just looking at him like, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh my god, it's a lesbo bar! It's just something that never occurred to me as a little tyke.
Yeah. Well, real quick on that. Apparently, it's loosely based on Taming of the Shrew.
Well, yeah.
But it's one of, but they make, there's a Screen Rant article that talks about the differences and things like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Going to Heath Ledger. That is where I feel like I have the most interesting thoughts about this film.
Yeah.
Because of course I've always known, about this film. Everyone like heartthrob over Heath Ledger in this film.
Right.
For the longest time before The Dark Knight came out, A Knight's Tale was like one of my mom's favorite movies. It was one of her favorite movies, so I watched it.
Mine too.
And I still love it. But that was always my mental image of Heath Ledger.
Gotcha.
And so when he was cast as the Joker, that was my. I was like, oh, okay, I'm thinking of him from, A Knight's Tale. And then that changed my perspective because I never recognized him as the Joker until I was an adult.
Yeah.
For whatever, I give you that walk because for whatever reason, the first time we see him when he comes into the guidance counselor's office, my first initial reaction, his framing, and then whenever he smiled, I was like, oh, that's Joker. I don't know why. And maybe it's because the black hair.
Yeah. Maybe.
That could have a lot to do with it. Where it's
maybe
not
because
like
he's more of a badass. He's a rebel. He doesn't care what you think.
Could be, but I guess I'm also seeing like because I've watched more of The Dark Knight,
right,
and kind of observed it more. I now see, like, for example, this article, about comparing it to Taming of the Shrew. It has the scene where he is, singing on the stands,
right,
and he's smiling. I'm like, oh, I can absolutely see that prosthetic, and so, but I'm on a less like observation note. That was a weird way to say that. It just kind of made me sad. Like, man, what an actor lost. Like, even back then, before he did, even A Knight's Tale. I think this was before Knight's Tale.
Yes, I do believe so.
It was like, man, this is really good. Just a really good performance altogether.
I felt like, everybody just did an awesome job. Julia Stiles did a perfect, like, shrew, if you will. And somebody needed to tame her. Hop, 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 hop. Anyways. But I do feel like there's a lot of damage there. And she plays that to a T because all of her, even her being super defensive about when he gets asked to go to the, he doesn't ask her, he tells her, and I do kind of stand on her side for that because he was like, go to the problem. He's like, are you asking or telling me? But still, even that response of her just being like, are you asking or telling me, like, is very much like feminist. But the reason she's feminist, and you find out why she's a feminist, is because she tried to be like everybody else. She tried to do what everybody else was doing, and she had sex with the quarterback or whatever, and she immediately regretted it because he was a fucking asshole afterwards. And so it's like from the very beginning, it's like obviously something's up, and she plays that to a T, and I love that. And then the sister is very much a naive sister. And you very well could say that maybe she plays it too ditzy or whatever, but that's her character. She
I don't feel like
the
she plays it too ditzy.
well, my point is that she's a white girl living in a giant ass house, a house, mind you, that the mom doesn't live there, so that's off of one salary, and that's a giant ass house for her to live in. So yeah, she wants for nothing. So being a little stuck up or whatever is good, but what happens throughout the movie to kind of not make her a stuck up bitch anymore is like it's believable. You know, it's not just like something clicks in her and they're like, okay, now I'm not going to be a ditzy bitch anymore. It's like what happens in the movie makes sense as far as like, okay, yeah, like I would probably change my attitude after that too. Sorry, what?
Yeah. No, I was just finishing your sentence.
Yeah.
How it perfectly advanced her character.
Yeah,
in a reasonable sense.
And everybody. I mean, even Jordan Gordon-Levitt, even though he's still a hopeless romantic by the end or whatever, he does kind of go like everybody kind of goes through something, and just I don't know. And I'm trying not to let my nostalgia be too hasty for me. But I don't know of that much that I don't like about the movie, because there's just so much to like, and the pacing is quick. You know, they don't dwell on something for too long. Because, I mean, sometimes that could be, like, the whole emotional, like, okay, this is what happened to me. This is why I'm so worried about you, or whatever. Even that part was kind of this, I thought it was done very good. And they still felt like teenagers, because the little sister acted like a brat. And, yeah, you find out something about your sister, you're like, oh God, I don't even want to process that right now. So it's like, it makes sense. So I don't know.
But it was definitely one that I enjoyed, and having another film that I put on my wall of shame is Titanic, because I had never seen Titanic until 2015.
Oh wow!
And watched it for the first time. My now soon-to-be ex-wife, whatever, was disappointed, because she was like, "That was a phenomenal film," and I'm like, "That was all right." I was like, it's overhyped. I was like, I really liked the end when everyone was dying.
And so there's very Roland Emmerich of them.
This I feel did live up to the hype, and I think it was also because I wasn't really expecting. I was expecting something different.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's pretty easy to expect.
Well, I mean, that could have gone the other way. We almost did a video about Anna and the Apocalypse, and that was definitely something that you didn't expect, but it went the exact opposite direction, where you're just like, I'm just not enjoying this. So no, I'm glad that, because I would agree, even though there is a ton of nostalgia just built on top, it's like I would agree that this does stand up as far as, there's a couple of, like the hard R, and there's a couple of things, but at the same time it still felt authentic as far as the 90s goes. So
if for me, and maybe we'll do this sometime, maybe for like a nostalgic thing, but our quintessential 90s film. Hold on, let me fact check something before I say that one, because that one might not be 90.
2000, damn it. 89, shit.
Okay, so for me, I would say, just in topic of conversation, now it would be American Pie. Right meow, like as an adult, just because like I feel like that is the perfect personification of like what I want out of the 90s vibe.
Hold on. I just came up with a really bad joke.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you say you're an adult. You're an adult hipster.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it?
I don't.
Okay. Girl. I don't know why. That just popped in my head. I'm sorry. You were talking?
Okay, it's okay. Yeah. The one that I can remember the most that falls more in the early 2000s is Clock Stoppers.
Oh, yes!
over
Even the
and over
music and
over again.
everything. Oh my
Yes,
god!
it is like it is so like that right middle time period. Clockstoppers is phenomenal.
All right, yeah. It's one of those that's like timeless, and it's Nickelodeon. Yay.
Timeless, timeless.
I know. See what I did there? So anyways, so yeah, we had somebody who watched this many, many times as a youngin, and somebody who's seen it for the very first time. 10 Things I Hate About You. What do you guys think about it? We definitely want to hear what your thoughts are. Have you ever seen it? Will you see it? You definitely should. It's almost Valentine's Day. You should definitely see it.
Fun challenge. You should tell us the 10 things you love about this movie in the comments.
Hey, there you go. I like that. So yeah, let's do that. Now, to end this particular video off, what is one of your favorite? Well, no, I guess we're already kind of answering that, because the next one we're doing is Nick and Nora's playlist, and that's your favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All-time favorite. Yep.
All right. So next time on our lovely movies is going to be that. But first, we're going to talk about Arise, a video game. So we're going to go movie, video game. But it's Arise. It's about a love story. I don't want to give too much away, but if you haven't played the game, either play the game or be ready for us to completely break it down. Because like I'm going to go down to like what was the metaphor for this level? Like that's how far I want to go. Just
all righty then.
I'm talking about balls deep. Okay, so I was Nick.
And I was Nate.
Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to join us every Tuesday and Thursday for a good old stream. We might just be talking some BS, or we might be talking about Rumbleverse. But check us out for that.